Hello, welcome to Texas AMA Backstage, where we go behind the scenes and talk to our guest speaker after the event to ask the questions we didn't get to ask during the event. I'm your host, Roger Lamb. I'm the social media officer this semester, and I'm here with Jenna Sandoval, the North America marketing lead at Instagram. Thank you so much for spending your evening with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. And as you know, we have Career Week coming up for our students, for Macomb students, for our students across all majors, coming up next week. And so this is when we go into a lot of interviews, and usually these questions are behavioral. So I want to know, what's the best behavioral question you've heard, and how you usually prepare for these kinds of questions?
Great question. So in all interview situations, right, you have to be ready for any type of different question. And I've heard the crazy ones, like how many golf balls fit into an airplane and things like that. But the most important behavioral questions that you'll probably get in the interview are situational ones related to the role that you're interviewing for. For example, if you're interviewing for a media agency, you would be asked to create a media plan for a new target launch of a product. If you're in a PR agency, it might be more of a crisis relief effort that you're being tied into, and how would you approach that problem. But I would think of more of the behavioral questions with that situational lens on it, and then always pepper in your great characteristics like team building and communication skills and all those great things that you bring to help solve that situation or problem.
Right. And it takes a lot more than just a good interview to get a job. A lot of it is about mentorship and networking. So you talked a little bit about mentorship and how your mentors from the past have helped you a lot throughout your career. How do you go about setting up a mentorship? Like, you just walk up to somebody who's experienced and say, I want to be your mentee. Can you do that for me? Or how do you go about establishing that relationship and growing it from there?
It's a great question, right? And I think you have to have a sense of rapport with someone, right? It has to be a mentorship that you get something from them, but you're also giving them something, right? And they have to be, my mentors are steps ahead of me in my career, right? So they're the rich experience and past benefits where I want to get to, right? And then they are a little more old school, so I bring the digital experience more to them, right? So, and then it's about keeping in touch, right? A lot of people have asked me to be a mentor, and then they lose touch after the first 3 emails, right? So it's about kind of, and you don't want to be over the top, like, oh, be my mentee, and then following up like constantly, right? So it's a fine balance, but asking, what does your mentor want? Maybe they're really just prefer phone and you talk to them on their commute to work. Maybe it's an email once a quarter. Figure out that cadence and agree upon something that's not like stressing you out because you've overcommitted and not making the mentor feel bad. And then those mentorships will happen naturally.
Awesome, cool. So you got the job, you had a killer interview, you had the connections that helped move you up. I know a lot of people who start out in agency end up wanting to go onto the client side, and a lot of people who start on the client side want to go into agency. So how do you recommend going through that transition? Like, which skills are required in both sides of that, and how to go about that?
Yeah, it's a great transition, and I did that, right, going from my agency side over to my client side in the tech company. I think the common thread through it all is customer service, right? Always listening to your clients, keeping their needs first. I mean, whether it's a specific client that you're serving, whether it is a brand you're trying to grow their business of, I think customer service is that thorough thread, right? I think when you are on the agency side, there's a lot more moving fast, like lots of different workflows within like specific projects that require specific deliverables, like a poster, like a digital ad campaign, right? So you need to be very organized in a cross-functional way, versus on the client side, you maybe need that like deeper brand expertise, right? You may not have as hot deadlines, or maybe it's less cross-functional teamwork, but you get to go really deep in a product like the Chevy car, General Motors, right? So figuring out kind of where you want to hone in deeper on the client side, I think, is key. You'll still wear a couple different hats, but in the agency life, you know, if you're in the media team or account services, right, you're constantly wearing a couple different hats. You may even be working on a couple different clients, which is cool for some people. And then I worked, you know, on automotive. I realized, okay, I didn't really want to go client side on the automotive, right? But my other friends that worked more on like bike brands, they end up working for the bike brands. So there's a lot of synergies between the two, and I think across agency and client, they respect that experience. So the agency people are hungry for people on the client side. The client side does want someone with that agency background.
Okay, awesome. And I know you spoke a lot about like getting international experiences too. A lot of students go into study abroad and they're like, oh, I'm going to work in China one day, or I'm going to work in Europe one day. What is the best way, do you think, to get into that state where you can say, hey, I want to go to this country, can you send me there, to your current employer, or if you're trying to switch jobs?
Yeah. I think it's easier said than done. I think you need to make sure you are looking at the company that has global opportunities or they're planning to expand globally into that country that you do want to go to. Opening that conversation with your boss, hey, I want to go live in London 2 years from now. How are we going to get there, right? Maybe it's a rotational program you can do first, and then maybe you didn't realize you don't really like London and you want to go to Spain, right? So having an open dialogue, having those rotational programs, and then just thinking out of the box, right? You may have thought London was the best. I had a great experience in Singapore, and I now have this passion to go potentially work back in Asia. So there's a couple different approaches, you can take to getting an international experience.
Right, but don't keep it a secret. You should let people know ahead of time. And they'll help them work your way up there.
Because your managers and your mentors will help open those doors for you. And I think that's really key. And 9 out of 10 times, your first step is getting to that right company in the USA, right? There's different visa issues and understanding that. And then of course, keeping in mind language barriers as well.
Right.
Some jobs you can, English is an international language, but some jobs really do require local language expertise too.
Gotcha. Okay. And my very last question, you spoke a lot about learning, whether it's in an academic setting or whether it's just on the fly wherever you are. So you mentioned that you're starting something new now, and what has been your biggest lesson from that new opportunity that you've been doing?
Yeah, everything is learning, right? So I was in a global role for almost 2 years, and I learned a lot about cultures, and I learned a lot about scaling and making impact, right? That's one of our values at Facebook. I realized we have an opportunity here. No one really focused and went deep with North America within Instagram. So I have an opportunity to basically connect all of our internal stakeholders together and get them more embraced in Instagram marketing. So they've been very Facebook focused. We're a Facebook family of apps and services, so we care about Messenger and everything. So bringing that global Instagram expertise now into this team will help, right? And I can bring all that education and knowledge I've learned from all the different regions I've engaged with into our own country here.
Awesome. And I guess my actual last question is,
Sure.
You are now a student, you're about to go into Career Week next week. What do you wish someone had told you during that time? As advice or as a warning, what would you tell yourself?
Network. Internships. And literally polish that resume and polish up that LinkedIn. That's more than one thing, but those are my key things, and they're all interrelated. But I just think your LinkedIn stays with you forever, and your resume as well too, and they're never done. So keep chipping away at them and getting that experience to add to those.
Fantastic. Well, you guys heard it from the master first. Thank you so much, Jenna.
Thank you.
It was great to have you. We hope to see you again. And good luck at Career Week, everyone. Thanks.